Well, there we are.
All right.
Wow.
So first thing I always look for is I want to make sure that your fronts lie nice and clean and flat, straight, so they're not gaping away, they're not flying in any direction, they're all just sitting with you. And then this is where I have our buttoning point.
Does it match the last fitting, you think?
It's better than, yeah. We did a couple minor tweaks. So my main issue was your neck points. So the last time that we spoke and you were moving around a lot, your left side just slowly kind of creeped minorly. So it was one thing that I really wanted to make sure that we addressed. So that was the main thing. And then that's all we did, I think. That was the main thing that I was curious about. And that's what I'm mainly looking at. And then the other thing, just to see the back, just wanted a nice clean back on your back. So we have a little bit of room that we gave you so that you can do that, what you're doing now. Yeah. And that gives you that room, but we also wanted to just make sure that we followed the concave of your back and the fullness of your seat.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, this is beautiful.
It looks wonderful. It's exactly what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to have shape and presence, but also have the relaxation of of a bespoke suit from Italy.
And we did 2-button, right?
Yeah, so we did 2 buttons. So we have your button placement, one here and one there, which I think is great placement.
Beautiful roll to the lapel, nice kind of soft belly.
Yeah, so kind of found a nice happy medium between the full Italian look and kind of a more English and American look. Yeah. Because the more that I work with you, the more I get to know you, and I know these little things about you that maybe you don't know, but you send them off. Yeah. And so I feel like you have a little more affinity for an English cut. There's a little more of that tradition that you like. So if you came to an Italian tailor and I went full Napoleon on you, I don't know how comfortable you'd be in that. Yeah. So if we could find a happy medium where we give you the lightness, the softness of the Italian tailoring, but give you kind of those English traditional pieces to that, I think that suits you really well. Yeah. And that's the thing that I always try to do with my clients is everyone asks me if I have a house style. And I never tell them that we do, because I feel like if I tell you I have a house style, then you have to fit within my mold. I feel like that's countercultural to the whole bespoke process. But I do feel like I have a house foundation. Yeah. So our house foundation is soft Italian tailoring. But the aesthetics, the details, that has to be yours, because it's your suit at the end of the day. You're wearing it. You see it every day. Yeah. I don't see you every day.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the point is that, your eye as a bespoke tailor will ensure that it always looks great. It always looks balanced. Yes. So you're not going to allow a client to, make a decision that isn't going to create an equally aesthetically pleasing garment.
Exactly.
But within that scope of aesthetically pleasing, I mean, you can play around with lapel width, you can play around with belly. Yeah. And it still looks great, and it's really more of a manifestation of just one's personal preferences.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of bespoke. And that's if you go into a bespoke tailor and you have all these ideas, but you've never been through a process, you're cheating yourself. Yeah. But if you've been through the process a couple times and okay, these things I like, these things I want to look out for, and you enunciate that to your tailor, he'll be able to recognize those aspects and kind of feed them into your suit. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So do you think a client that might be seeing a bespoke tailor for his first time, right, should really defer maybe more than one would normally to the tailor in order to establish kind of a foundation?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the only way you're going to minimize your mistakes, because the tailor's already been through mistakes. Yeah. And especially
that's someone, his job.
Yeah, that's his job. So he's already had clients who he's let run the show and they've made the mistakes, and he's gone, I'm really unproud of that work. Yeah. So he's going to be there to help you minimize that. The thing that I always tell my clients, no matter how much in the beginning or throughout the whole process they've ever been, like if it's their first time or their 100th time, I always tell them to communicate with me.
Yeah.
Because I can see things on you, but I can't feel them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so if you, and every client's going to be different. Yeah. Like you're going to feel your armhole and you might go, that's great, because that's right up in there. Yeah. And another client's going to go, I feel my armhole. Like I don't want to feel my armhole. But if you don't say that, I'm going to cut you a high armhole and it's going to be up in there and you're going to feel uncomfortable until you get comfortable with it. But if you tell me that bothers you, then I know, okay, I can scale that back for his first time, you know, and then slowly ease him into it because he's going to have a happier product at the end. Yeah. But it's all those things that you can feel and I can't feel. Yeah. So I can only look at. So I look at drape, I look at cut, I look at balance, I look at all that stuff. Yeah. But I don't feel it. Yeah. You know. So
that's a great point. I mean, and I think, you know, one of the beauties of the bespoke process is that relationship, right? Yes. Where, you know, not only are you dealing with the human that is an expert in what it is they're dealing with, right? But you're able to actually develop that relationship over time to add depth and really breadth and scope to it so that, you know, at a certain point, your tailor kind of knows what you want better than you know what you want. Exactly. And is able to help you get there. Yeah. But it is a little bit of an iterative process that takes, you know, two people getting to know one another.
Yeah, it is. And that's the kind of the process, and that's kind of the cool process that you, I think, have been able to, we've been able to show to the viewers is your first suit compared to this suit. Yeah. Everything's there's a progression. Yeah, you know? Absolutely. And so I'm always happy with the first product, but I know the second's going to be better. Yeah. And I know the third's going to be better than that because as we grow together and as we understand each other more and as I understand nuances of your body and your mind, then the more I can fit you for those things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. It's beautiful. And this is that, you know, exceptional Dorme cloth.
It is, yes. It's fantastic.
And I can't remember, I mean, again, what I love about this cloth, and this speaks to the beauty of the bespoke processes. We were talking about this off camera before we put it on, but, you know, it is a hard color to peg. Is it a blue-gray or a gray-blue?
Exactly.
You know, or does it have a little bit of green in it? And it's that subtle kind of, it's the subtlety of it that I think makes this so striking. It's not a loud kind of in your face, you know, statement. No. But there's a little bit of subtle ambiguity to this fabric that I think makes it really lovely.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. And that's the thing that we were talking about, you know, just a few minutes ago. Because someone was like, it's a blue gray, and I think it's a green gray. And someone else said it's fully gray. Yeah, so, it's a great cloth. And, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think it, again, kind of illustrates that evolution kind of in one style. I mean, you know, at first, whenever I was having things made, I was only having single-breasted suits made. Yeah. And then I had my first double-breasted suit made, which was a big jump. Yeah. And then I had my first suit made with trousers cut for braces. And then I had a suit made, you know, with a bold kind of chalk stripe.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right? My first pinstripe suit. And then this, again, is that kind of next evolution or iteration of taking that chalk stripe, right, and manifesting it differently and just an absolutely, you know, really beautiful suit that seems, you know, flawlessly executed.
Yeah, it's really great to kind of open up your palette as you go and as you learn, you know, what you like and what you don't like in the cloths that you select. Because to me, I think this is a very traditional cloth, but it has such expression to it that it almost makes it untraditional at the same time. Yeah. So it kind of fits. To me, it kind of fits the way that you and I kind of work together because it gives you that traditionality and it kind of also gives you that little bit of untraditionality at the same time.
Well, I can't wait to get this out into the sunlight because, again, a cloth like this is going to manifest itself differently inside than it does outside. Not in a loud way, but in a really kind of sophisticated, kind of soft and subtle way.
Definitely. And the way that the sunlight's going to play with that coloring is just, we'll probably come up with a new color.
I can't. I mean, that's one of the things I like about Dorme is, you know, their cloth, you know, there's so much depth.
There is.
And complexity, or depth and sophistication, I suppose, to the way that the cloth is
definitely
is made.
Yep. Yeah. And this is out of their Echo book, I believe. So if anybody wants to look
I think it's blockchain. So I got some blockchain. I have to,
you'll have to
turn the trousers inside out.
To see the selvage. Definitely.
So
I like the button point. I think that's a great way to break you up. I think it's right in the right spot. The only thing we need to talk about is your sleeve lengths. So to me, sleeve length is a very personal thing. So everyone wants rules. Yeah. I know everybody wants rules.
I know. But in the world, an easier place for rules.
I know. And everybody wants rules in regards to suiting because I feel like us as Americans, we never really got taught. You know, like as a young man, I never learned to tie a tie.
Yeah.
I never knew the bespoke world even existed. You know, so there's all these things as young Americans I don't think we ever really got taught by our fathers. You know, so now everyone wants a rule because if there's a rule, I can follow it and I always know if I'm right or wrong.
I'm safe.
Yeah, and I'm safe. I'd always been taught, but in most things, as an Italian-minded tailor, non ci sono regole, so there's no rules.
Yeah.
You know, there's guides, you know, but there's no real rules. So that being said, one sleeve length is up to one's own preference.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I know you as well as I hope I know you, I would say with that you would definitely want this one longer and probably that one a little longer.
Yeah.
So you'd probably only want to show maybe like what, 1/4 of an inch. Yeah.
Just barely, just a nice
a nice kind of line. Yeah. So for that, okay, let me just do a mark.
So one of the things, you know, you've marked this up.
Yes.
I've always been interested, like, you know, what do these symbols mean? How does one know, like?
So the symbols are basically, if I'm shortening the coat, then I'll make the line to where I want to shorten the coat.
Okay.
So I'm going to get the measuring tape and make sure I know. But if I'm not shortening the coat, because I can't put a line there because it doesn't exist, I have to make a line that shows how much I want to shorten or how much I want to lengthen the coat and that I want to lengthen it. So I want to lengthen it probably about that much. And I know that I want to lengthen it by putting two little marks in it.
So that means lengthen.
So that means lengthen. If those 2 marks weren't there, that would mean shorten it to there.
Okay.
So now we'll use a measuring tape and ensure that we know what we're doing. So you're going to stand like just normal.
Yeah.
So what I do is I go from the top of the sleeve down to your thumb. And I got 14 there, but I actually want to there, so I want 13. So I want 1 centimeter, which is what I marked. I want it to lengthen 1 centimeter.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to go to this side, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I got from there to there is 14. So we're equally off. And we want about a centimeter. So yeah, you're about 14 and a half and down to 13 and a half. So we want about a centimeter on this one as well.
Which is what you have.
Close.
Close, yeah. Great. What about number of buttons? I mean, again, the buttons aren't in yet.
No, so we'll do them, and you will choose them, and it's up to you.
Yeah.
So standard fare is 4.
Yeah.
Me, as the person who does your buttonholes, I will always convince you to do less than 4. So, and I also like less than 4 because it's just something no one else has.
Yeah.
And I don't put like purple buttonholes on one of them.
No contrasting
yeah, there's no contrasting
Darn.
buttonholes or things like that. Yeah. So we'll definitely try to keep it within that frame of everything the same. But you can do 4, 3, 2.
How
1.
many do you do?
So I do 2 because 1 is formal.
Yeah.
And then everything else is fair game.
Yeah.
I do 2 because.
You didn't want to sew 4.
Because I don't want to do 3 and I don't want to do 4. But it's up to you. It's your.
Now you're making me feel bad, but I think I'll go for 4.
You're fine.
You know, to get that proper Eric Jensen signature to this suit, this jacket before some poor apprentice is blooding his thumbs.
Yeah, we'll finish this before they get back, so you'll be fine.
So what about the type of buttons? I mean, I guess at this point, have you kind of chosen the buttons already, or?
I mean, I don't choose them per se. I have a standard that we go kind of by. My thing is I really like the look of unpolished horn buttons.
Okay.
One, because horn is such an incredible, material.
Yeah.
But I like the unpolished because I feel like polished is just so
it's too shiny,
avant-garde, too in your face, and I like to keep it a little more clean.
Yeah.
But each kind of suit kind of dictates that. For this, I would definitely say an unpolished horn button, probably in a gray.
Gray, yeah.
Which I think would just be a nice clean look.
Yeah.
Might go in a softer gray than a darker, but I'd check them out on there. If you want to defer to the house, then I'll make that decision for you.
Yeah.
But definitely keep it something clean and elegant. I think would be mindful for this suit.
Yeah. One of the other things I love about Italian tailoring is just the way that the shoulders are set in and the sleeves. And, even within Italy, there's a lot of difference. But it's one of those kind of regional stylistic differences that you see very pronounced between Italian, French, and English tailoring.
Yeah. So for us, most of the time, being Roman, we have to keep everything a little cleaner. And that's just because our clients do business. And so if you have a business suit and you have too much expression, too much sprezzatura, it kind of reads poor.
Yeah, it doesn't work in the boardroom.
Doesn't work in the boardroom.
On the beach,
yeah,
fine. On
totally
the boardroom,
fine. Napoli, blah, blah. But so for you, we did a little bit different than, if you will, our house style. Because you have such a slope on your shoulders. I didn't want to enunciate that, so I wanted to give you something to lift that up, just to give you less of a slope. The thing about bespoke tailoring is to always give the client better than what they have. So for you, we added just a soft pad. So there is a shoulder pad in yours, but it's very, very minute.
Okay.
So it's just there to kind of pick up the ends and just give the shoulder just a little bit less of a droop. The other thing we did is a cleaner or softer on the sleeve head. So this is what we would call a rollino, which is just a really soft roll or wadding in there. So that just kind of gives you a nice clean sleeve head and a nice kind of, not traditional, but something that's just going to be a little bit more presentable, especially for this cloth on your shoulder as well.
And, again, the difference being you could have something like, say, from Chittleboro and Morgan that's got, or, Cifanelli, that has a huge pronounced,
so it's going to have a pagoda on the shoulder, so that's going to really kind of come up, especially on the Chittleboro and Morgan. And then they'll also have what a lot of people call a cigarette roll, which will just kind of really roll up, which you kind of almost did on your last suit, but this one we kind of made a little less.
And then the other side would be like the true Neapolitan stuff.
Yeah, which would be that spalla camicia.
And it just kind of is like almost
falls.
Looks like the way that a shirt sleeve would be set.
Exactly. Yep. And it'd fall off the shoulder like that as well.
So what is it aesthetically that you like about just, again, the Sartoria Gallo kind of approach to this?
I think that the thing that I like the most is that nothing's ever done too much. Does that make sense? So we do the spalla camicia, but our spalla's camicia is a little more tidy. Like our sleeve set is just set in just a little more care to tidiness. Whereas the Napolitan maybe would kind of set that in kind of haphazardly to add a little more of that flair, that Napoleon style to it. But us as being Romans, we're inspired by that Napoleon ideology, but we have to keep it clean because we're the seat of power. So it's that same kind of thing that I think works really well with the American palette, is because I think we find those expressions beautiful, but when we put them on, we feel like they overwhelm us. So to have all those, the essence of all those things, but just to kind of keep it a little more tidy, just keeps it a little more palpable. And that's what I really, really liked about what I learned when I was under Maestro Luigi Gallo, and now as I work for them. It's just keeping everything Italian, but put together.
Well, it's beautiful. So, I mean, since I've got this on, and since we're filming for the YouTube audience, if you wouldn't mind just kind of taking a little bit of time and kind of talking through again the elements that make this jacket special and unique. Maybe for someone that didn't watch some of our other videos, because we've covered this before. But I always enjoy having a tailor point these details out, because even I oftentimes miss out on them. Despite how many times I've gone through this process.
Yeah, definitely. So we can start in myriads of places. One of the main things you want to look at when you are getting a bespoke suit, and if you do get it delivered and it comes in record time, so we're always looking for the pick stitch. So if you can see those little pock marks behind, then you know that this was hand done. If you can't see those, then it was either fused or done by a machine. And then that creates that beautiful roll in that lapel line. Like that.
It's not just handwork for the sake of handwork. It's not embellishment. It also gives the suit its durability to ensure that regardless of how much you're throwing the suit around, that roll is actually literally sewn into the memory of the garment.
Yes, exactly. And so it's actually the hands, or we roll it while we pad stitch it, so the canvas is pulling the cloth always to come back over onto itself. So it'll always stay like that, unless like some dry cleaner somewhere decides to press that flat.
Don't ever send your suit jacket to the dollar dry cleaners.
So that's a telltale sign. A sign of a Gallo suit is going to be this dart here that goes all the way down to the hem, and the fact that it doesn't break the pocket line. We always pick stitch and lap our seams so you can see these little dots of thread. That helps reinforce each seam, and also I think adds just a little touch of beauty.
And it's a very subtle lap.
Yeah, very subtle lap. So this dart right here is quintessential of a Napoleon style cut. Yeah. It was invented by Attolini. But what the Napoleons did was they did that, and then the pocket came out a little bit, and then the dart kept continuing.
So the dart would have been in the same place, but the pocket would have been forward.
Yes, yeah. So it would have broken the plane. Gallo saw that and thought it was not attractive.
Yeah.
So he thought, well, how can we keep this soft, clean look, but also make it a little more elegant? So what he did was he shifted the dart a little bit forward and the pocket a little bit back, and just made that a nice.
And how does the dart make it soft and clean, like this particular dart?
Yeah, so what's beautiful about it is it doesn't really break the pattern much. So it almost hides itself, especially on vertical pattern or horizontal patterns. You don't get that breakage too much because darts that stop here in the pocket and then don't have anything down there. You'll see like the pattern changes here and it's different down there. So you'll see in the pockets, if you look at like British coats or American coats, you'll see at the pocket flap, it will match here, but it won't match up there because it can't because of the darts.
Yeah.
So this one will always have matching on top and bottom. So this pocket here ends, so this dart here doesn't break, the pocket doesn't break that line.
Yeah.
And that's the way that our darts work. The softness of it just creates a softness by keeping control of the skirt down here. So we control our skirt, which is your lower.
Which really kind of comes in.
Yeah, so you get it to nice kind of come in. And that's what that dart's doing right there at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then
it also allows you to not then have a side panel.
Yes, so we don't have a side panel. So then we have a full cut here, and we have our dart that goes in there. So that's creating that shape. You guys can see that.
Another dart right there.
So that's that dart right there that's really creating that shape from chest to
and that dart doesn't go all the way down.
No, that goes straight into the pocket.
Otherwise it'd be a panel.
Yeah, then we'd be talking a different cut suit. Some of the geeky weird things, if anyone wants to geek out. So we pick stitch, we turn and pick stitch all of our seams. So even this front seam is pick stitched, your side dart is pick stitched, your side seam is pick stitched, your lapels are all pick stitched, and this seam right here is hand slip stitched all the way down and around. We put our shoulder seams on by hand. All of our pockets, like our breast pocket, is all done by hand aside from this seam right there. And then our interiors, our lining is all put in by hand. So that's all hand pick stitched all the way down through there and even in through the pocket. So massive amount of handwork on our
and that pick stitching can only really be done by hand.
Yeah, so there
are some machines that can pull it off kind of along
but you can see it because there's
not a subtlety to it.
No, right? I've always thought of pick stitching as like the children of the wealthy. So you ever heard like way back in the day that the wealthy people always thought of their children as should be seen and not heard. So pick stitching kind of has that idea. So it should be there, but you shouldn't be able to like hear it.
Yeah.
And so machines can't do that because they only have one way of doing things. Yeah. And so you can always see the pock marks. So if you can see the pock marks, that means like the pick stitching is kind of yelling at you or talking to you, and to me it's just not attractive.
Again, it's one of those subtle details that kind of the more pick stitching you see, that it was done by hand.
It was done by hand, exactly. And it shouldn't be as violent and vibrant. It should just be there because it serves a purpose.
Talk about lapel width and then the way that the notch is placed.
So our lapel widths is kind of up to me and the client and your chest. So we always range somewhere between 9.5 and 10.5 centimeters. But every time I say we always do something, one day we won't do that. So it'll change according to client. So if you have a fuller chested guy and you stick with one rule, well, then that breast pocket just kind of looks like it's floating out there. So I always like to get like a little bit of the corner or covered of the chest pocket, and but also to balance out the whole of the suit. We add a little bit of a belly to our lapels, but again, we can do straight ones as well. So
relative to your lapel, mine looks not quite as wide.
Yes, not quite as wide, and that's just the way of kind of giving you aesthetic that's kind of balanced, and something that's going to transcend time. I play with mine a little more because I can, and I see a suit every day, so I want to see something a little bit different. But everything's kind of case by case basis. Our notches are usually 4.5 centimeters in from that, and then we do a standard kick out on the collar.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm very happy.
Yeah. Anything else to talk a little bit? So this is, of course, double vents.
Double vents in the back. We have a lap seam as well on our back, and it's picked as well all the way down. So it's kind of like who's that guy in England? He does a lap seam, but he does a more lap.
Chilbor and Morgan.
Yeah, Michael they Brown. Do it as well. Michael Brown.
Both
yeah. So Michael Brown has a very lapped seam as well.
And so he's got more of an overlap that just pronounces it even more.
Even more. Yeah. We do ours that way just so that we can pick it. So if you press it open, you've got nothing to pick it.
Yes.
But if you put it lapped, then you can pick it. So you're actually adding more strength and durability to that.
Yeah.
If you think about it, where in your suit do you want a lot of strength and mobility? Is in the back.
Yeah.
It's
again goes back to kind of what we spoke about a little bit earlier, is that all this handwork isn't handwork for the sake of handwork. It's not superfluous.
Exactly.
I mean, the pick stitching really does help this edge sit more clean.
It also helps control the roll of the facing, so you have to add fullness to the facing in order to get it to be able to come across and not pull that back that way. But if you add that fullness and it has nowhere to go, it can sometimes slip over the edge.
Yeah.
So the pick stitching just keeps that fullness where we want it to be.
Yeah. And then I guess in the example of the back, it adds durability and strength.
Durability and strength. So everything. We don't do handwork because it's fun.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, but it also serves a purpose.
It's beautiful, but it's certainly not fun. Right?
It's fun if you've had a long day and you don't want to think about anything else.
That's right, in front of the television.
Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't be any more happy. I mean, the balance of the suit is exceptional.
Yeah.
I mean, so looking at it from this direction, I mean, it just, again, has a perfect
it does. You have the
balance. And
your front is just slightly longer than your back, which is exactly what we want.
Yeah. And even the length, I mean, the length might be a touch longer than some of my other garments, but, looking at it, I think the length really has a beautiful elegance to it. This goes back to that rule. I mean, normally they'd say, kind of cup your fingers up. And so this is maybe somewhere between 1/4 and 1/8, of additional length. But I think that for this suit, really just works beautifully.
Yeah, to me, I think it breaks you up really well. It adds, a demeanor to the suit as well that I think the cloth demands. To me, I think it's right on.
And in this particular suit, again, slightly more formal.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's a very conservative kind of chalk stripe. I think the choice of no cuffs on the trousers, again, is a beautiful choice.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, again, you've got that drape that kind of goes all the way down, and there's just a cleanliness to it.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
That you get.
With no flair, unnecessary flair. Yeah. Everything's just nice, clean, and elegant. I think, like I said, that's just, you look at the cloth, and I think the cloth demands that. Yeah. And so you just kind of go with what it says.
And different cloth, you probably do a little bit
different.
Oh,
yeah. And that's the beauty of Bespoke.
How much would change, from cloth to cloth? I mean, would you even play with lapel width and notch placement in addition to cuffs?
All that stuff, because you can have an idea when you look at the swatch book and you have this idea of what you want. I had this with a client of mine who we picked a cloth that was looked on the swatch book. It looked very, very sporty. It looked like something that's going to be patch pockets, maybe even bellows on the pockets. A great kind of shooting sport coat, if you will. We got the cloth in. We did the first fitting, and we realized that the cloth had such elegance to it as well. Yeah. So it had this sporty elegance, almost like something you would wear after a hunt, or something you'd wear if you wanted to have a dress up country dinner or something like that. So everything changed at that point. So we rethought the entire coat. And changed the whole outcome.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of the Bespoke process. Yeah. Well, bravo, Eric. You've outdone yourself with this piece.
And, I'm glad. It looks like you're enjoying it. Yeah. I enjoy it. So I think.
I wish you could sit here and do the buttonholes in the office.
There you go.
I can't wait to wear this piece out officially. Yeah. But thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is again such a great representation of true Bespoke.
Definitely.
And certainly quality craftsmanship and tradition.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for the honor of your incredible work.
It's fantastic. It's great to be here and good to see you again.